everyone. Welcome back to the Empty Pantry, where we turn tight budgets into delicious meals. Today, I'm going to be tackling a challenge that a lot of us face, feeding the family for under $10. I'll share with you a few delicious recipes that won't stretch your budget.
I'll show you how to make a simple honey mustard chicken leg with a little side salad and some biscuits. We'll be making a meat veggie biscuit bake, a simple way to make teriyaki chicken rice bowls, and also some rustic spaghetti made with ground turkey.
These recipes are perfect for this busy weeknights when you need to keep the family full, but you also need to keep the cost down. So if you're ready to see how you can make the best of your grocery budget and feed your family well, let's get cooking.
First tip are some honey mustard chicken legs. This is super simple. Not a lot of effort goes into this one. So we're going to gather our ingredients, and we are going to start by taking a cookie sheet and lining it with some foil. This isn't necessary, but it sure makes cleanup way, way easier. On that foil, we're going to put our chicken legs. I was just cooking for a couple this night, so I didn't cook all of my chicken legs. I had that big pack. That big pack was on sale for under $4, so I'm only using a third of the package, and then I put the rest in the freezer. Adding some salt and pepper to the chicken legs, and then I'm just taking my honey mustard salad dressing, and I'm going to put that all over the chicken legs. Once I squeeze it on there, I'm just using a quarter of the container. I'm going to take a brush and make sure that I get it over the top and the bottom of all of the chicken legs. And as I mentioned, I didn't use all of my chicken legs, so I have plenty of dressing to coat that entire container. If I needed that many for the family, I could have done that. I will end up with extra honey mustard in the end. So just get that all coated around the top and the bottom so that the flavor kind of marinates when they're cooking, and just give each of the chicken legs a little bit of room on the pan so that they can get some golden brown around all of the edges. If they stick together, you're not going to get that, the crust on them. So once that is done, we are going to put that in the oven at 375 for about 30 to 35 minutes. You'll just check with the thermometer that those chicken legs are done. While those chicken legs are baking, I'm going to make some biscuits. So I'm just using some canned biscuits. These are good. They're easy. They're super cheap. They're definitely faster than making them from scratch. I don't know if they're cheaper than that, but they're definitely faster. So if we're looking for an easy cheap meal, these were like $1.10. So you can't really beat that. So to add something a little bit special to them, I'm going to put some butter on top of them. This will help them taste better. It gives them some flavor. It also will allow a little bit of browning on the top. So I'm just kind of slicing a little bit of butter, and I use like 4 tablespoons. So they're nice and buttery when they're done, and just slide that. That butter is cold, and it doesn't matter. It's going to melt as soon as it gets into the oven. So once those are covered in butter, I'm going to pop them in the oven with the chicken that's already baking just for the last few minutes. They only take a few 10 minutes or something like that to bake. So hopefully they come out at the same time. Now, there's my little dinner. I made a simple salad. I used some honey mustard that I had, and there is my honey mustard chicken leg dinner. Next, we're going to make a meat and veggie biscuit bake. This is kind of similar to a shepherd's pie with a little bit different ingredients and definitely a different order. The meat, you can use beef or ground turkey. I use ground turkey because it was cheaper and I got a 50% off, so really good deal. So starting with our vegetables, our potatoes and onions, they've been prepared, peeled, and chopped into small bits. And then into a very large frying pan, large meaning deep, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of butter. And then to the butter, I'm going to add my potatoes that I minced up really small. And we're just going to add all of the potatoes into that pan. To the pile of potatoes, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of garlic salt. You want a good helping of garlic salt in there to give them some flavor. And then I'm going to just stir those around, make sure that they're not sticking to the pan. I want to make sure that they have a good coating of salt on them and of butter. And then I'm going to continue to cook these potatoes until they're kind of a golden brown. I want them to be pretty much done before I put them in the oven because I don't want to have the biscuits done on top and the potatoes on the bottom not be done. So here they have started to brown, and I'm just giving them a good stir so they're not stuck to the bottom. So once those are cooked, I'm actually going to take them out of the pan so that we can fry up our turkey in this pan. Now that we removed all the potatoes and we're getting up as many little bits as we possibly can, we don't want them to continue to cook with the turkey. I guess it's not a big deal, but I took them all out, and you can see I still have a nice coating in that pan. And then here goes my 1 pound of ground turkey. You could use beef if you like. Turkey is a little bit cheaper option. So I have my 1 pound of ground turkey, and then to that I'm going to be adding the onion that I minced up really small. So we're going to cook these both together until that turkey is completely done. Similar to the potatoes, we don't want raw meat at the bottom of this. We don't want to burn our biscuits that are going to go on top. So we want to make sure that our turkey is completely done. This is a meat that you don't eat raw or rare. That's probably not a good idea. So we're going to make sure that it's completely cooked all the way through. I'm making sure that the meat is chopped up in small bits, and then you can see that the onions are starting to get like a translucent from cooking in there with the meat. So just going to continue to cook that until it is done, and I'm happy that it's completely, finished. So it does brown a little bit more before we go on to adding the vegetables and making the sauce with this. So one quick last stir before I get out a small can of tomato paste. You can use whatever brand you like, or if you had one that was maybe a flavored one, that would be fine too. Just one little small can of tomato paste. This adds a nice richness and kind of makes a sauce for the bottom layer of this. So I'm just putting that all in there, and I still have the heat on. I want to keep this pan and the ingredients as warm as possible. Once I have that all mixed in there, the next thing I'm going to do is add my vegetables. So I chose to use some frozen peas and carrots. I got these on a really good sale, and I stocked up in the freezer. I think they were less than $1 for a package of them. So very frugal, budget-friendly ingredient. So I'm adding those, and then I added back those potatoes that I made earlier. And then I'm just mixing those around so that it's evenly distributed in the bottom of the pan. Now, before you're done, you need to add some salt and pepper. So taste it, see how much you need, and then add in the salt and pepper that you need to make it taste right. Once that is done, we're going to make it even. And then we're going to add 1 can of large biscuits. These are a generic style of like Grand's biscuits. So nice, big, buttery biscuits. And then I'm just patting those down. They don't have to completely cover the top, but I'm kind of making a complete top on that. You can see I kind of squished them together. And then into the oven, 400 degrees for 13 to 15 minutes. Basically, you just want those biscuits on the top to be done. And then once they're done, just take them out of the oven. This cools off fairly quickly, so you can serve it right away. So just dig down, and then some meat mixture, and then a biscuit for each person or 2. And then I served that with some broccoli for a nice, very hearty meal for the family for well under $10. Next, we're going to make some teriyaki chicken rice bowls. These are very easy to make and always a big hit, and really good leftovers for lunches as well. So we're going to start by making some rice. So I'm using a rice cooker. If you don't have one of these are so great, and it makes it so easy. Rice is not near the hassle. So I'm making 2 cups of rice. This is going to make 4 servings, and I'm going to get that going. And then to a baking dish, I am adding chicken thighs. These still are a little bit frozen. I'm always guilty of not defrosting things all of the way. So these are a little bit frozen. So I'm going to stick those chicken thighs in my baking dish. I did not make the entire package. So I put those back in the freezer, but I made 4 of them, and I'm just taking my teriyaki sauce. This is a store brand of teriyaki sauce. It was very cheap, like $1.50 for the whole container, and I am only going to use a tiny bit of this compared to what's in that bottle. So coating the chicken in the teriyaki sauce, and then I'm going to put it in the oven. As simple as that. I'm going to bake that in the oven at 375 for 35 to 45 minutes until that chicken is completely done. Meanwhile, I'm going to prepare my vegetables. So I have a little handful of broccoli that I'm going to cut in fairly small pieces. We want you to be able to take a bite of this with the rice and the chicken and not have to cut it up. And then I'm going to take 2 carrots and I'm going to slice these in small matchsticks pieces. We want these also to be easy to eat. You don't want to have to cut it once it's in the bowl. So once I have my vegetables ready to go, I'm going to put those into a steamer basket and get those steamed up. We don't want them mushy, so do pay attention. Now my chicken is done. My vegetables are steaming. I'm going to cut the meat off of the bone and remove the skin from the chicken thighs. Cutting it in bite-sized pieces because you don't want to have to cut it once it's in the bowl. Now, if you used a chicken breast, you could skip the deboning because you wouldn't have any bones in it. I do like the chicken thighs because they're a little bit richer meat. They're definitely not as dry as a chicken breast can be. And since we baked this for a little bit of time, if it had been a breast, it could have dried out possibly. So the chicken thighs would be my preference on this. So you'll need to get all of the meat off of there. And then I put it back in the pan with the teriyaki sauce so it could absorb some of that moisture. And then I will use that teriyaki sauce as my sauce for the rice bowl. So I'm putting my chicken in there, just stirring it around, and I'm going to let it sit for just a minute while I put everything together, getting any extra little pieces of skin that are still in there, removing those. No one wants to get that in their bowl. So once that is done, it's a little bit more manageable now. The pan is still very, very hot. Assembling the bowls. So each bowl is going to get a nice scoop of rice, and you can add as little or as much as you want. If you need to stretch this a little bit, add more rice because it is a nice belly filler for not a lot of money. And then on top of that, we're going to add some chicken with the juice that will help flavor the rice a little bit. And then just a little scoop of vegetables to the top. And that is our teriyaki chicken rice bowls. Very big hit, very good leftovers for the next day for lunches. And another very affordable meal under $10 for the family. Lastly, we're going to make what I call a rustic spaghetti. So this is very simple to make and a very good option when you don't have spaghetti sauce. So starting by boiling some water for our pasta. So we're going to boil that. And then meanwhile, we are going to start to prepare our vegetables. So we're going to use a few different vegetables in this spaghetti. I'm going to start with a small onion that I am going to peel, and then I'm going to get that diced up. I'm also going to prepare a couple cloves of garlic. I'm going to prepare them by removing the skins off of them. That way, when I put them into the garlic press, I'm not getting skin in there or anything like that. So a simple way to do that is just put a knife over them and give it a little thump, and that will remove the skin from it. It comes off quite easy when you do that method. The next thing I'm going to prepare is some bell peppers. Now you can totally use fresh bell peppers, and I normally do, but I had some that I had put in the freezer before a vacation. So I'll do that to make sure that they don't go bad. And so I just took those out of the freezer, and then I'm just going to give them a little bit of a chop. I had cut them into kind of strings, and I want them to be more of chunks. So I'm just giving them a little bit of a chop so they're more of a bite-sized piece. So that's what you're going to do if you have fresh bell peppers or anything like that. Now, if you could use the frozen onions and bell pepper mix, you can also use that if you have that. And I understand you can get that at the dollar store. So that may even be a more frugal way to go about this. But for this time, I'm using some frozen bell peppers and then some fresh onion. So my pasta water is ready. So I threw in 4 ounces of pasta. And then moving over to a large fry pan, I'm putting 1 stick of butter. So that is 8 tablespoons of butter. And then to that, I'm going to be adding my vegetables in there. We're going to add the bell peppers and the onions to this butter. And what we're going to do is we are going to saute these, get them nice and cooked up. As we're cooking this, the butter is going to melt. It is not going to disappear though. We do want to have some of that butter. We want some extra liquid in here because this is going to be the sauce for our spaghetti. So don't stress that there's like way too much butter in the pan at this time. So we're going to cook those peppers and onions until they're thoroughly cooked through. So if you did the fresh peppers, you're going to want them to be soft. You're going to want the onions to be soft. They're going to have some nice, good flavor as they're cooking in that butter. And once they're cooked up, you can see that I have lots of butter still in there. I have the liquid. And then I'm just going to put that over to the side while I take another pan and I take my turkey. I'm cooking this separate because I want to make sure that it's done all the way. And to that, I added my garlic. So I'm going to just get this all nice and fried up, chopping it up as I go until that turkey is 100% cooked through because there's not much more cooking to do after this. So once it is browned up, we're going to want to combine the 2 pans. So we're going to take our larger pan that has the vegetables in it, and we're going to pour our meat and garlic mixture into that pan. And then to that, we're going to add 1 can of stewed tomatoes. You can use just regular unflavored ones. If you wanted to use the Italian seasoning stewed tomatoes, you could do that as well. And the liquid is still in there. I did not drain that off. That's going to add some more liquid to make a sauce. And so I'm just mixing those together. Now I can tell you, I should have used a bigger pan. I misjudged this. I should have used a larger pan for this because I still need to put my pasta in there. And at this point, I don't have a ton of extra room, but we're going to make it work. So once those are mixed up, I do want to add some Italian seasoning. So take into consideration if you did use the Italian tomatoes, this is going to be a variable for you. So I added about 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. That's how much those shakes equal, is 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. So I have that in there. And then I'm going to pull over my pasta that I just pull straight out of the water. I don't ditch the water because if I needed extra liquid, say the pasta ended up being a little bit al dente, I could actually pour some of that pasta water in my pan and continue to cook it a little bit and get that pasta all the way done. So this is the method I use all the time. I don't dump that pasta water just in case I need it. It's not the same as just adding water from the sink. It does have some starches in there. It will help make a sauce. It's also already warmed up all the way. So if I do add it in there, it's already to temperature as the pasta. So I'm just gently mixing this around. This is where the bigger pan would have come in handy if I had a little bit more moving room in this. So I'm just continuing to mix it up. I'm not adding anything after this, so it is done. I'm just going to make sure that it's mixed up. I'm leaving the heat on. There is a little bit of liquid. I'm hoping that that pasta absorbs some of that liquid and it adds a really nice flavor to it. So once it's done, you want to serve this right away. It would cool off very fast. So you're just going to serve it up. It is really good with some Parmesan cheese on it if you have that. Even some little packets from a pizza or something like that, you could use that. But that is our rustic spaghetti, well under $10 for this meal.
If you have a chance to try any of these recipes or you have your own budget-friendly meal you want to share, please leave it in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. That helps me know that you like videos like this, and I'll keep making them. Thank you so much for watching and being part of the Empty Pantry community. I can't wait to see you next time when I have lots more recipes to share with you. But until then, happy cooking. Bye.